Hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans! Welcome to another episode of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight we are talking about Season 4, Episode 15, Self-Control. We've got so much to talk about before the break, as well as some awesome news and gossip. Guys, stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Mind blown! Oh my gosh, you guys.
I'm not even sure if I feel safe around anyone on this panel right now. You're
no
all
one can be
LMDs.
trusted.
You're all LMDs.
No one can be trusted.
Especially you.
I think there's someone. I think if you look to your left, there's someone.
You know, there is
who's
something a little bit
less
suspicious.
trustworthy.
The dark hole. Yeah, but
Something's
LMD
different.
wouldn't want the dark hole unless they were programmed, but then they would be programmed to give it to someone else. The
Dana
fact that
wants
you've
the dark
noticed
hole.
the dark hole, to me, means that you're the LMD.
Okay.
I'm just
sure.
kind of concerned that Zach hasn't stopped stroking it the entire time.
It's precious.
I think the only way to solve this is every one of us just takes a quick look at it, each person, and we just see what happens.
No way that could end in disaster.
Open it up here. Oh!
Spoilers?
I know how the season ends now.
Spoilers!
All of my predictions will be true.
Well, one of them certainly was, but let's go ahead and get
One?
right.
Multiple correct.
We will list them all for you very soon. But hello, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. We are here tonight to talk about the episode Self-Control. Let's not waste any time because we've got a lot to get through.
We don't have any self-control.
No, none whatsoever. Let me introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, Jesse Klein.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number one.
To his left, Tehran.
And I am Tehran all across the social atmosphere, the bathrobe heartthrob.
And to his left, the now probably possessed by the Darkhold, Zach Wilson.
Probably. Good chance. Hey guys, find me on Twitter, all social media at that Zach Wilson. I feel like I'm not okay right now.
You dropped that was angst.
Well, here's the thing. There are some fantastic things about this episode, and then there are simultaneously some infuriating things about this episode.
Let me clarify. I really liked this episode
Yeah, it was
overall.
great.
As did I.
I thought this was a great end to the LMD arc.
I have no idea what happened in this episode.
For you, it
don't
was
know
just
what's
all
real.
sound and
I
fury.
don't know what's not.
It was filled with great action sequences. I thought that most of the twists I didn't see coming. A couple of them we because we were watching together and we were like, no, and we saw but I was genuinely caught off guard. Like, they built the tension well at the key moments.
Jesse?
Jesse's got a faraway stare.
Yeah, I really liked this episode. I thought it was good. I wish they'd done something new with the kind of concept of LMDs and artificial intelligence. I don't feel like there's anything. I'm excited to see where they go forward, because head in a jar is some Darkhold stuff.
Oh my god.
that I'm excited about. All of them living in an artificial world, that's something we've explored already. The whole Hydra, that kind of stuff looks interesting, but it is, I think it's something in the comic books that I've seen.
That part of it I sort of resigned myself to, several episodes ago, is that the they hadn't introduced anything in terms of the greater sci-fi world. They hadn't introduced any new concepts about AI, and so I'm not waiting for them any longer.
Yeah, but for the most part, I thought it was a good episode. I thought there was some amazing acting in here.
Yes.
Jenna killed it.
Yeah, Elizabeth Henstridge was
good.
just murder city as far as acting goes.
Tears,
Oh my
the
God.
tears,
She
the
was-
fear, the anger.
She was so good.
Is that Jenna?
Yeah.
Let's call her Jenna.
Okay. We'll call her Gemma. Gemma was fantastic, and I thought there were some really good action scenes. I love what they did with May. I thought it was all good.
Yeah. Tehran, overall thoughts?
I love Gemma. Her acting was phenomenal. I really liked Phil and May fighting. That was actually really...
My heart.
It was great.
It was great. I have no idea what happened in this episode. I was...
Are you still shell-shocked a little bit?
I was just like, okay, oh, no, okay, but is that even real? I don't even know anymore. So it was great. It was a very good episode. I really like last week's episode, and then how are they going to beat last week's episode? And then they really did.
We have a month to think about how they will subsequently top this episode, so that's gonna be fun.
And Ada has become my favorite. I used to be a total.
You were
Sky.
anti-LMD?
I was a Sky fan, like Sky. When they had the room full of Sky, I was like, oh, I love her. But Ada has taken the cake. Like
that
now,
must have been like, what would you have done, Tehran, if you walked into a room entirely filled with Daisy Johnsons?
Daisy Johnson's
right
basically
now.
in their underwear.
Yeah, guys, this is just incriminating right now.
I know what I'd do. I'd freak out because it was the same person over and over again. No matter how attracted I am to her, if I see her like times 20 in a room,
you don't have enough imagination or.
No, that you walk into the room, you
sorry.
slowly take a look around, and then you just slowly walk.
Sorry, I'd find that terrifying.
I'm trying to picture, like, just reverse it. Like, for me, it's like if I walked into a room and there were 20 Agent Carters.
Yeah.
If there were 20 Peggy Carters, I would I'd probably just look up and be like,
Thank you.
You got my letter.
Thank you.
Thank you, God.
A person after my own heart. Thank you.
You guys are gonna get murdered real easy.
Oh, I'm real
Probably
susceptible.
by-
They would not have to push hard to find the things that would make me die.
100%.
I'd
For
be like,
me.
look at all these robots and/or clones sent to murder everyone.
Well, might as well enjoy it.
No, I'd run the hell away.
Run away.
Look, there's a lot of ways within the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. world that you can die.
That's very true.
Death by Daisy Johnson's or
Slash
Peggy
Peggy
Carter's.
Carter's.
Go.
Not as terrible.
There are
I
worse
choose
ways.
not death.
I quote Futurama. Now that's a wave of destruction that's easy on the eyes.
Hilarious.
I still choose not death.
Well, speaking of death, I personally, for me, I really loved this episode. I hate that we have to wait a month to kind of get the follow-up, but I loved this episode. We got our horror movie, and I love anything. I know we brought this up last week, but I love anything that reminds me of The Thing, the 1980s version of The Thing.
Sure.
It makes me so happy, and as you touched on, the acting during those scenes of who goes there was just absolutely spot on, and it was downright heart-wrenching, even when you know that it's an LMD getting hurt, it's still freaking terrifying.
I thought they showed a lot of restraint. That this entire episode could have been like, who's an LMD, who's not, and playing that game, and they only really did it twice, which I thought was really good.
Which was just enough.
Yeah, I thought it was really good restraint, because every show's done this show has done a thing with someone being an imposter and looking the same. So I'm glad that they showed that restraint and they didn't do that the entire episode. Watching Gemma stab her boyfriend to
As
death
he screamed, "No, don't do it."
was tense.
Let's go ahead and talk about that scene since clearly it's one of the most emotionally driven scenes in the entire episode. Because the setup is that Gemma discovers that Fitz is an LMD, but the scene is played up with we don't know which one of them is the LMD.
Well, no, we knew.
We knew.
We knew who was the LMD.
But they played it up phenomenally well, because even Fitz is like, yeah, I'm the bad guy in this scenario. It doesn't matter if I'm a robot or not. I did this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is what Gemma argued against in the last episode.
Yep.
If we remember, we had Mac call him out and say, this is your fault, and Gemma argued against it. It's not your fault. Which I thought was a nice circle to that argument.
It was also like we got to the scene was built well because it had those it gave us a few moments to even second guess.
Nope.
I was doing a little second guessing.
The way they showed the screen, it looked like it was Gemma, and then you weren't sure, and then the cut wrist.
Last episode, we talked about how the only person who we saw that we knew for a fact sure
couldn't be an LMD
was Gemma, because we saw her by herself reacting to the submarine getting away with May on it. And since there was no one there,
there was no one to perform
for. So if she was an LMD, That would
That's
have been
true.
really frustrating because it would have been really bad writing for her to be performing specifically just so the audience can be tricked.
I don't know, because I feel like the May LMD might have reacted even if the May
Well, like
LMD was alone because of the programming.
we talked, like, this is something that they bring up in the episode too, is May was designed to be more human than the other
it's
LMDs.
a completely different type of LMD.
Well,
Yeah.
sure.
Her programming
And
is
at the
completely
time, we
different.
weren't sure who was or wasn't LMD. We could have easily just had Gemma was designed even more like humans.
She would have had to have been replaced earlier on than when we saw her running around in the compound.
The timing works out that if Gemma was replaced, then she would have had to have been replaced way before anyone else.
I thought it was her, okay, guys?
That's all right.
Okay, I thought it could have been her. I
That's
felt like it
fine.
was, and then Fitz sold me when he was like, "I'm not the one holding a gun." I was like, "Yeah, crazy girl holding a gun."
Like, I mean, you're right. Remembering that, like, you're absolutely right. Like, we would have known the whole time. But structurally in the scene, like, they did make me doubt, like, even the stuff that I had assumed was right at that point. And that's why I felt. Even there was that moment, like, even when you like knew that Fitz, that like it was Robo Fitz.
Yeah.
Like when he snaps back to like the Fitz voice crying out, like
Yeah.
not that I
was a
thought it
microwave
was
being
him, but like
snapped.
just thinking like from Gemma's perspective, it's just
Yeah.
like that moment of doubt. Like, what if she messed up?
You have no heart.
What? He's a microwave. He stabbed her.
He's
in
the
leg.
LMD.
We don't know because even if created to mimic human emotion and empathy, the more I'm watching Ada, the more I am not 100% sure that the LMDs don't have souls of their own.
Well,
that's the argument this entire arc.
Well, I mean, I
is
don't
whether or not
think-
they do and whether or not perception is reality.
I don't think anything technically has a soul, but that's a different argument.
That's a discussion for another panel, I think.
But we know
Rene Descartes disagrees with you.
that's fine. He's an old guy who doesn't have modern technology. But the thing is that we know that Ada is searching for a soul. That is
Yes.
what at the very end of the episode, where she's saying like, you can feel joy when I feel joy, when I can finally feel all of those things. Like, that's the thing that Ada is looking for.
And that's what made me think that maybe there's more to it, more soul.
Because the LMDs,
thought.
we know, because like Coulson says, like, I don't feel anything anymore. I don't feel pain. I don't feel it. We know that they're just mapped brains, basically. But Ada is a completely unique piece of like hardware because she's not mapped from anyone.
Okay.
I mean, her physical appearances,
Yes, but not her
her
brain.
beautiful physical appearances.
Yes.
Her
Tehran, she's gonna snap. She's gonna slice her wrists. We
she's
saw
going
it.
to chop you into pieces and put your head in a jar.
very cool thing to do. I might go through with it and comes off with a better, stronger body. I don't know.
Would you? Hey, did you guys ever watch C-Lab 2021? The very first episode was an entire discussion about whether or not you would put your brain in a robot body. And I've been thinking about that C-Lab episode this entire arc.
I don't entirely think that I wouldn't.
I would
Reminds
say
me of
the
Mars
same a little.
Escapes or Mars Attacks.
Mars
With where Pierce
Your head would
Brosnan
be
is
on
just
a
like-
little chihuahua body.
Yeah.
Well, like I'm thinking, like, I mean, the whole concept of art of like, what is like what makes us us?
What is life?
It reminds like that was that Bruce Willis movie that was based on a
Surrogates.
book, Surrogates. Yeah, it's like if it's your consciousness, like what? I mean, you can't tell the difference.
Well,
And then
there's-
it gets in, then we get into the whole framework
There's
territory.
a very interesting podcast, not this one, called Radio Lab that talks about this, where people who like get paralyzed, their personality completely changes because your body is a big part of your personality.
Yeah.
And like being able to like, for instance, just like feel hungry is a big part of your personality. And it affects almost all of your decisions.
So-
like your ability to feel yourself is something that affects every single decision you make.
And we see May struggling with that.
I will never think of masturbation the same ever since she said that.
I'm
However,
sorry.
That's the thing. But
I feel like there was a leap there.
I
You
said
made
for
her feeling
yourself.
as I felt it.
Yeah, you got it.
Is the vision a microwave?
He's got the mind gem, and he is just a treat.
That's an interesting question. That's a much larger discussion.
I mean, they would argue that that's the reason that since he's like an elevator, that is why he's able to pick up Mjolnir.
Or maybe he is worthy.
Since the Vision had children, I would say he is not a microwave.
But
not in the MCU yet.
But that's all. But didn't he create them like from like code, like he asexually?
But in other universes, he did not create them asexually.
Okay, guys, we're
talking 616 and or
topic.
199.9999.
Then 616 is a
Let's
microwave.
get back to this episode. I do want to pose the question though. This episode was actually directed by Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it really shows in the acting because I think the performances, they're always good, but I feel like they're better here than they've been all season.
Oh yeah, he brought it. I mean, like beyond just being a showrunner, like he showed tonight that like he can handle directing with anybody else.
Yeah, everyone had amazing performances. Like even like Mac playing not himself, like had a really good performance.
Trying to play himself.
Yeah, trying to play himself.
They all had a
really
good level of roboticness without feeling cheesy. They weren't talking like this.
We didn't get a whole lot from Robo Mac, but do you think Robo Mac, because he has memories of watching Terminator and feeling sullen about it, do you feel like he has this sense of self-loathing?
I am sure he does. Yes.
Robo Mac sounds like really weird mac and cheese that like I don't want to eat.
Now, one thing that we found out that didn't congeal with last week's episode is the LMD detector, which showed Daisy, Mac, Mace, and Coulson, and it said 4 LMDs detected.
And I double checked it.
Yeah.
And it absolutely does say 4,
So
and it's only the 4 of them. Like Fitz and Simmons are not in there. However, rewatching the scene, what we see is that like somebody took down and hid the video.
Yes.
And like erased it. And Fitz is the one who finds it. So I think Fitz doctored it up.
And if we remember from the end of the last episode when she makes this discovery, he's super shady, and the way that they filmed it was very much him being menacing to the point where I remember I'm like, oh my gosh, he's an LMD. And then it gets revealed that all 4 of them are LMDs. And I was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. Nope, we were all right.
I guess my question would be, what is the tactical reason for tricking Gemma?
They want to keep her isolated, and if she thinks that one of those people might be human.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why doesn't he just immediately, when she discovers why did any of this exist? Why didn't he immediately just like hit her over the head and download her brain?
Well, they were always near other people.
All right.
He needed to get her alone. As her boyfriend, I feel like there's a bunch of ways he could have done that.
Yeah.
Not when she's super concerned about all the LMDs. Although, you bring up a good point. Anybody else find it super creepy when he kissed her? Like when she's like semi coming out of her her knocked out state, and he's like, "It's gonna be fine."
That was very creepy.
I've always thought that perception was separate, and we'll grow old together. It's like you can't grow old if you're not in a human body, guys.
My other question was, Daisy and Gemma use knockout gas. Why didn't the LMDs just do that immediately and replace everyone? Like, it seems like that gas was real effective. Like, it almost took immediately. As soon as you breathed it in, you fell asleep. Like, why didn't they just use that on everyone?
That's a good point. I also got
then
a tweet.
they couldn't have awesome action sequences,
That's true.
Jesse.
That's true.
I also got a tweet from who asked this from at Red Grasshopper. Why don't they just use the EMP to stop the LMDs?
That's true, yeah.
You can just EMP the whole base, and then the LMDs go down.
Granted, you lose everything in the base then, but I'm sure everything's backed up on servers, and also everything's probably gone anyway since now it's blown up and destroyed.
Yeah.
I would say argument against the EMP, they probably just couldn't get to it in time because like most of the higher ups were locked down.
Or
That's
maybe
very
they
true.
didn't want to crash. Doesn't that happen?
I mean, they
when they're
were.
in the air. I think then once they're back on the base.
In the base.
Because I don't think Daisy and Gemma had easy access to the EMP.
Speaking of questions of why did they do this? Why did they do this? Why did they have an entire room filled with daisies?
No idea.
That's a good question.
I mean, it made for a great visual, and it was a nice callback to things like iRobot.
Because they were going to round up the Inhumans, and they said that Daisy was going to meet them all personally.
Individually. Yeah. Okay.
My question is, if Daisy could just destroy the LMDs by quaking them to death, why didn't she just do that?
She didn't have her gauntlets.
Yeah, so she was hurting herself.
Yeah, I thought about that, and then I was like, oh yeah, she doesn't have her gauntlets. It still hurts her whenever she does that.
She probably fractured something by doing that move.
When she did her super
by the way, that like super anime black.
That was very anime.
It was straight out of the third Dragon Ball Z movie. It was great.
I don't care. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not contesting that. I thought it was fantastic as well.
So she broke a bunch of bones doing that move.
Yeah,
probably.
Oh,
she
absolutely.
didn't have her gauntlets.
We also had like
She also got shot a couple times.
Talk about like stellar action sequences with Daisy in this, because we have her versus Robo May, which was really, really fun. Because not only it's just fun to see like an imposter in the Patriot armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Mace also got to do his like Terminator thing, getting shot with a shotgun and just walking towards her slowly. I was like, that actor must have had such a good time getting to be the Terminator.
I mean, yeah, and she got to do a little Sarah Connor action.
Yeah.
It was great.
But again, calling into we're going to question the logic for some reason of a lot of things in this episode.
Sure.
That armor had to be like just bulletproof regardless.
Yeah.
Why would you give him armor that wasn't bulletproof?
It doesn't make sense.
It was bulletproof anyway, and yeah, why didn't she just aim for the head, guys? Always aim for the head. In robot scenarios and in zombie scenarios, always go for the head.
And double tap.
I did.
Double tap.
It was when she swung the axe and he's just like, nope.
That was so cool.
By the way, how great is it that like she spent most of this episode wielding the
the shotgun axe.
Shotgun axe.
Yeah.
Oh man, I will say that's the one thing. It was amazing to see her do that Quake blast, but a part of me really wanted Robo Mac to get killed by the shotgun axe. I feel like that.
How dare you take his shotgun axe?
What would happen is it would hit him and it would refuse to cut. Even though it's not real Mac, it would still refuse to cut him because they're best friends.
The shotgun axe couldn't bear to hurt him.
And now we have to deal with all this question of like, well, what do we do with an intelligent shotgun axe? And like, what does that imply about our humanity?
Stop saying that.
Jamie Perez sent us a tweet talking about walking into the room filled with daisies, and they sent us the Homer Simpson
fading
gif, back into the hedge gif. That's fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Hilarious.
So yeah, we had this great action sequence.
But my favorite use of Daisy's powers was the real person hug.
Yes.
The bone hug.
Yes. Again, extremely emotionally charged scene going into it.
It was so tense, and to end it with two friends just hugging, realizing that they're both real people, was such a great way to end that scene. I love that scene.
That was beautifully written, directed, and acted.
So
Every
good.
piece of that scene came together perfectly.
Yeah.
And let's not also forget the move where Daisy launched herself into the air with a Quake move and then punched Robo May in the face.
She's watched the tapes on Iron Man.
Amazing.
That was an Iron Man.
She did a regular Iron Man punch first, and then she did a Quake Iron Man punch.
Well, what I'm saying is Iron Man did the same thing where he launched himself in the air with a gauntlet and then punched.
Yeah.
The first one was a Captain America punch.
That launch was straight out of Civil War.
Yeah. So good. Double so good.
But But something else, kind of on the human side of things, is we got to see May's Squadron again.
Yeah.
You know, the group of I don't know if they were rookies per se, but her group of Squadron
They're
at the beginning.
trainees.
Yeah, at
May
the beginning of the
Squad 6.
season.
May Squad 6.
And
What? We gotta give them a name.
Ooh, the Mayettes, the
The June, Julys.
the June July
May, June, July. Yeah, that
Yeah.
checks out.
The mini
Because
Mays.
they're like fresh, you know?
mini Mays. I like that.
Chat.
Give us a
you
name,
guys give
yeah.
us a great name for May's little mini squadron in trainees.
May's group of trainees.
What about the maybes?
Oh, that's kind of cute.
That's not bad.
Oh, because they're like bays and May. Yeah, we'll put that into consideration. We'll decide at the end of the show.
All right.
Yeah. So chat, keep those suggestions coming.
So one of one of them Agent Davis from last week. Is that why he got a name?
Oh, maybe.
Hilarious.
I
Because
see.
he's like an actual person who's like involved.
Maybe
The
Davis
May
is,
Days, says Michael B.
Perfect. That's my number one
That's
right
already
now.
been used in comic books, guys. We can't do it.
Is that off the table, really?
The Mayhems.
Well, I like the Mayhems.
All
Because
right.
that brings ham
The
into
Maybellines.
Maybe they're born with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Maybelline. Anyway, guys, while you guys are discussing that, I want to talk to you really quickly about iTunes. Folks, thank you so much to everybody who's gone to iTunes to rate, subscribe, leave a comment. We love hearing from you guys. It still blows our mind that we have an international audience, that there are people all around the world who listen to us sit down and geek out about this show. It really does warm our hearts, and it is the best way to let our producers know that you like the show that we're putting on, helps keep the lights on, helps keep us at this fancy desk here. And if you guys do leave a comment, we will give you a shout out on the show. Not to mention that if we get to a certain rating,
Yeah, we're already there.
someone here. What?
already
No.
Oh no, wait. I'm wrong.
Was someone here promised that we would do a live read of some sketch comedy written erotic fan fiction. So Zach, do we have any
please.
shout
Who
outs?
made that? I didn't make that promise.
It was. Here's the
We were
thing. You don't.
contractually-
It was like 110 degrees in the studio last week. Today it's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's
so-
nice.
Last week it got to like 110 degrees, so we got a little weird.
We got real loopy.
and we need 2
I'm
more.
so sorry. I need to understand why it being warm in here made you agree to erotic fanfare.
It was his idea.
Number one was my idea. Number two.
Yeah, don't. This isn't entirely on me.
Number two,
LMD
it was not
and the
my
dark hole.
it was not my idea to make it be 20 reviews in like half a year.
We
I
all
thought
share.
we only had like 4 weeks left. I didn't know there was a month break.
Anyways, Zach, do we have any new reviews this week?
Yeah. Let's.
We have 20.
Let's quickly thank
Dig ourselves out of that hole we
Music
dug ourselves
Lover
into.
777888. Thank you Ether 36842. Callie Joe 19. The Master of Tasks. Fire Art. Wait a minute. The Master of Tasks. Now it's I'm seeing something I
not-
like. I'm fired. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people to shout out. Fire Art 99. Westport Official. Yabba and Fitzsimmons Fangirl.
Nice.
Oh, that's so
And
nice. Thank you, guys.
Fitzsimmons Fangirl says, just want to stop by and leave a quick review, so hopefully we can hear some quaking off fans.
Oh no.
Oh, this is a deep, deep hole
We'll
we've
write
dug.
it PG-13. It'll be PG-13.
We'll have to dim the lights.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. It really
There's
does
still
mean
a
a lot
few
to us.
to go, but
Oh.
even if we just hit our average, we would be there by next week.
It's a good thing we have a month. All right, let's get back to it. We were talking about a little bit about Robo May in this episode.
She was good.
She was so good, and I love that, you know, what set her apart from everybody else is ultimately what made her better than them too. Like,
Yes.
she wasn't the typical robot. And for a while, you're not sure how she's going to play out this scenario. And even Robo Coulson wasn't. either, and that's why he kept her isolated. He's like, let's just keep you over there.
Well, there's a difference between like being brought into the world knowing something about who you are, and then versus like coming through like not knowing that and then discovering it, because it's May's still like reeling from that realization. The rest of them are just like, no, this is the reality.
May was a sleeper cell, so she still has all of the May parts of her. Like the other LMDs, that's just like tactical information. But for sleeper cell May, like she says, she's all phantom limbs. She thinks that she can feel everything that she's feeling, even though she doesn't. And like that's a really interesting. I love that speech. I thought all of it was amazing, and the entire scene was fantastic.
The note about this is the first time I have memories of the snow, but this is the first time I've ever seen it.
That
and
was
then
so good, such a bar.
When they open the
and then
goddamn
the hatch opens and the snow just comes into the hangar.
Oh, so good.
Again, wonderful directing.
Yeah.
Good job, Jed. Good job, Mr. Whedon.
And don't worry, guys, to reassure you, we're absolutely going to talk about the framework world. We're building up to it.
Should we go ahead and talk about it then?
Well, I like that May says in that speech, she says, you said that regret was the thing that they were taking away, and you're wrong. Regret is what makes you a person.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really interesting kind of distinction. And before we go
especially for a microwave to make,
Yeah. Well, a microwave that's programmed to think like a human.
Poetic, beautiful, soulful, some would say.
Yes.
Microwave.
Yes, but a microwave that's programmed to think like another person, but isn't actually a person. I also want to talk about Radcliffe, because Radcliffe had like
we come to an interesting sort of way to wrap up Radcliffe's story. A little bit of just desserts, and as Ada puts it, an end to the paradox.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Radcliffe, again, drinking his own Kool-Aid, still thinks that ultimately he's done the right thing, that uploading minds to the framework and allowing their physical bodies to die isn't actually a bad thing.
Yes.
And I wanted to, I know you have very specific feelings on the way this sort of played out.
Yeah.
But I want to get across the table how we feel about Radcliffe very much becoming the architect of his own destruction, and of course Ada being the person who ultimately kills his physical body at the very least.
Yeah, he didn't think through the logic of that. Like,
no.
Dude, Mac's seen all these movies. You gotta have seen a few of them.
Yeah.
And literally anything, a robot killing its creator, is kind of standard for a lot of science fiction.
That's rule number one when you're creating an LMD of any type. Is you add the "you can't harm me no matter what" rule.
Yep.
Well, but he did. But the problem was that he set up a situation. He set up a situation where, through her logic, killing him wasn't actually hurting him.
Yes.
And that was the main. That was like he let in that speech. He let her know that was okay.
And she's like, "Oh, thank God."
Screwed himself.
And that's why you put the physical harm clause. No physical harm clause.
Thank the maker.
Every mad scientist creator worth anything knows that up front. However,
Tehran, you offer these services to mad scientists, girl.
I actually have a school of thought on it.
Sure.
It's like you gotta think even Hank Pym knew, like he put in like special clauses for Janet, like so that Ultron couldn't even like hurt somebody he was told not to.
That's what I mean. Everyone should, when creating LMDs,
listen out there.
Or just don't create LMDs
of robotics. You made the iRobot analogy. There's the 3 laws of robotics, and you should follow them at any given time.
Sure.
Do they always work? No, but you don't want it to be because you forgot one.
Do they always work? Never. But
at least you'll have done your due diligence by making sure there were 3.
There's never been a science fiction story about a robot that just did what it was supposed to.
Protecting humanity by destroying
it. Interstellar.
Sure.
Oh, that was good. That was a good
Interstellar,
one.
Rogue One.
Protecting humanity by destroying it is a very common theme.
Yeah.
Because we are our own worst enemies.
We are, I mean, not to bring up Ultron again, but that was what he was trying to do, is like, hey, I'm just going to burn it all to the ground so that we don't bring the larger hammer coming down.
And Ultron was a little crazy, but...
A little bit.
Out of his mind. But the concept is that Ada expressly gives Radcliffe the paradox.
Yeah.
The catch-22 that she's in, the dilemma.
She's like, map this out for me so it's okay for me to murder you.
Well, I mean, Radcliffe had a chance to say, like, no, yes, you should always protect the framework, but don't protect it from me since I am its creator. Like, let me have complete control over it. And if I make the decision to destroy it, then there's probably a good reason for it.
Radcliffe should have said, Ada, you're not allowed to kill me. Let's keep it moving. He could have simply stopped it right there. Like, everyone,
let's have some hot chocolate.
we kind of caught that.
Ada, let's sit down and have a chat.
Was doing. Yeah. Ada has been harming a lot of people.
Yeah.
Cut up a Russian, made
but
he didn't know about that.
But now he's dead and living in the framework world, which looks
okay.
flipping crazy.
Any other
like
comments
the Matrix.
on this episode before we get into the straight up Matrix aspect of things?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good episode. I liked it.
Fantastic. Again, well done, Mr. Whedon,
some
on a
amazing
fantastically
acting. I can't wait for
directed episode.
It was
Daisy's
the
album to
right
drop.
way to end. If you're gonna go, if we're gonna go on a mid-season break like this.
This was a good way to end it.
This is a great way to go out because the implications of going into this world, like with the little hint that they gave us.
True.
Yeah. So what did we see? We saw. I'm gonna save the thing that I'm so frustrated with until the end. But so
May
we saw
works for Hydra.
May
I
works.
wrote
Which that was
in,
the
like-
Triskelion, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the Well, that was the base from Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
that's
that's
the Triskelion.
yeah.
By the way, I said May working for Hydra in the framework is like in the first quarter of my notes. But yeah, May worked for Hydra. We see that Gemma is dead.
In Fitz's.
Oh, which means that as an Avatar, she's just in the grave.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Oh gosh. Does that mean she's been buried alive?
Think about how surprised Daisy was when she woke up in
In
the
a
bathtub.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? She wakes up, it's just darkness.
Oh gosh, it's the big. Yeah, she wakes up in Kill Bill Volume 2 or that Ryan Reynolds movie called Buried.
Coulson is a teacher.
A teacher who seems to be like
against Inhumans.
he's like living in today's world where he's like, these people are not to be feared, you guys.
Yeah, why we fear them. Let's talk about it.
Max Kidd is alive.
Yeah,
Even while Hydra has taken over.
I love the way they shot that too, like because you don't see a little girl running into his arms. You just see him
the
picking
bike.
up a child's bike and walking into the house.
And then
This
Fitz is Iron Man, right? Like he's
wealthy.
He's super wealthy, and he's got like a cool
got a
car. like-
honey.
I was gonna say
Justin Hammer
I thought he was like director of. Well, no,
You know
'cause
what?
I don't know what
I
it would
bet
be.
you-
Like maybe
I
like
bet
Hydra
you
Science
his-
Division or
Roles.
something.
I bet you in Fitz's framework, his father's still around.
Well,
Either that or he destroyed his father in a corporate takeover.
And took
of
it
some
all.
sort.
well, it's all the same framework. Like it's not individual frameworks. It's because we hear Ada say that it was difficult to add
Because she kept
all
having to
their
reset it.
resets together. So it's all in the same world.
So in this world, Fitz is rich. Coulson's a teacher. Hydra is still around, and May is probably, I presume, a top operative.
I really like this thought from Goth MOLG.
Yeah.
Gemma is not dead. She is with Will, either on Maveth or elsewhere. Maveth, the planet from last
I just got
season.
goosebumps.
We also see Fitz is with an unknown woman as well. Like he.
Ada.
Any thoughts on
Ada?
who she might be?
Ada.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Ada
And
or
yet still
or with the
real
real
Ada.
Yeah.
The real Ada.
What was her
Agnes.
name? Agnes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
And
Ada.
then I had this idea, and someone else on Twitter did too. I forget. I didn't remember their name, But we don't see Mace, and my thought was Mace is Hydra Captain America.
Yes, I'm trying to find
Interesting.
who sent us that. Oh, it was Belinda Boo. Mace is the only one we didn't see in the framework montage. Is it to hide that he's Cap?
Or
that would be
he
perfect
could be
for
the
him.
Hydra. He could be a Hydra version of Cap. He could also just be Cap. Like working for an underground Nick Fury led movement. Like he could be a good guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
Because Mace is very fight the good fight. We don't know what this Hydra has stood for. Like if this is a world where
Hydra's not
where Coulson never joined S.H.I.E.L.D., the implications of that are humongous because Coulson
there are no
recruited
Avengers.
all the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like without Coulson, there's no Thor, there's no Iron Man. There's an Iron Man, but he doesn't come to work with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And so there's no way Iron Man makes it through Iron Man 3.
There's no way he makes it through Avengers.
No,
Yeah.
he may very well have drunk himself.
I feel like we're just gonna gloss over the Loki thing.
Something I do want to bring up, but we need to talk about the thing that makes us angry first. I do want to bring it up though. Is we get Ward
The most boring character.
my question is, before we talk about how angry it makes us, I want to know, does Ward in this world, is he a part of Hydra?
Well, obviously, because Daisy gets the text message wake your boyfriend up. He has a new assignment. So it's
You're we're calling you in.
Yeah.
I like Ward. I don't know.
It's not that I disliked Ward. I didn't dislike him as much as Jesse did, but I'm tired of him. We've killed him and brought him back so many times, and
Can this guy make a living? He's never done anything else in his
I was
life.
gonna say I like Brett Dalton.
He was in a movie.
Yeah, he did a
recently
movie.
He was in a video game.
I like Brett Dalton.
Sorry.
No,
I like Brett Dalton.
Yeah, I feel like
I didn't know it was a joke. So.
I feel
He's
like it's
had
okay.
his turn on the show, and they first killed him, and then they brought him back as Hive, and then they
gave
killed
him
him,
a
and now they're bringing him back
beautiful
again.
goodbye at the end of season 3. For both him and Lincoln, because both of those cast members were leaving, it was a beautiful goodbye to. He was he was a bad guy, but for the actor, it was a nice way to say goodbye to somebody who had been with the show since the first season.
He's an integral part of.
He's so
Daisy.
boring. He's so
regardless
boring.
of how we feel about it, what shaped Daisy in a lot of ways as a person she trusted and a person she had a relationship with and foundation and felt her way within S.H.I.E.L.D. was through Ward.
But I feel like she had moved on when she freaking shot him in the back.
Yeah.
Obviously not as much as you thought.
Here's the one thing that I will let it we'll talk about it a little bit in news and gossip. This feels a lot like the setup for an end of the series.
Yes.
And with that in mind, I don't mind as much bringing Ward back because he was so integral to the show throughout. Getting something
I
with
just turn
him.
my brain off when he's on screen. I think Brett Dalton. This is not against Brett Dalton. I just think that every decision they've done with the character has always been extremely boring, and
They shot him in the back.
yeah, which is fine.
Even turning
but
him into an alien space slug?
I thought it was boring. I thought everything they've done with him has been boring.
What more could they do to this
I would
guy?
have
I like
rather
the
I would
Hive
have rather
arc.
have been Will
That was a good one.
than Brett
Oh,
Dalton.
you mean Lincoln?
Or no, Will, the guy who was on the planet.
With
On
Daisy?
David?
But no,
with Gemma.
she's talking about Will.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
talking about Will.
Was Will ever Will?
I don't know.
He was for a time, yeah.
But then-
because
but
Will,
then he was falling apart.
Hive said that Will died saving Gemma. So
That's
yes,
right. That's right.
He
Okay.
was. But for me, I was definitely against LMD Ward, and I feel like we should have also specified that request
Framework
with no
Ward.
framework Ward. I love Brett Dalton, and I think Brett Dalton is a great actor, but I agree with you, Jesse, that I'm done with his character.
I just don't know where else it has to go, and not just for him as a character. where else does it have to go for Daisy? Like, what is it going to add to Daisy's story? Because if it's not going to be a big thing for her,
and also that we didn't get from Hive Ward. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, where else is there to go with this?
I will say though, as you pointed out, it is a nice parallel back to season 1 if we are talking Endgame. And again, it's a good way to bring in a beloved cast member back for the series final run.
Let's jump over to May though.
There's one more.
I was just gonna say, and my question is, do you think this is a bookend, bringing Ward back, and that this is actually the last season of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Let's talk about that news and gossip, because there's a bunch of stuff that Jed Whedon was talking about this week. But like May, so it looks like she's clearly working for Hydra. But is she director of Hydra, or is she an undercover trying to bring Hydra down from inside?
That would be interesting. I think it's a more interesting story, and I think May, like, her ideal world is she is director of Hydra, like she's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a Hydra world.
The question is when Hydra took over, because May was directly recruited and worked for Nick Fury.
Yes.
So Nick Fury has been around since before, like, if this is just the world affected by Coulson not doing anything. Yeah. Nick Fury was in S.H.I.E.L.D. well before that. So if Nick Fury recruited her,
yes,
then he may have recruited her to an underground resistance movement.
I like that. I'm guessing that Nick Fury is Hydra.
It's also possible that Nick Fury in this world is dead.
Or Hydra.
Yeah. I would assume he's dead as a result of the many things that happened in the Avengers world.
I will always believe in the goodness of May. Even when in the past we've thought, she's sinister or something, she's always turned up she's really good.
I don't think she's evil. I think she's just the biggest cop in the world. And
so Hydra, and she would be
a S.H.I.E.L.D.
But Hydra would always stand for injustice. Like, it'll just always be evil, and I don't see that being a part of May's characteristics. She has an innate sense of justice that goes beyond even S.H.I.E.L.D.
So,
this is the interesting thing about Hydra is, like, they've definitely their means are always evil. Like their plot in Winter Soldier was to take out anyone that could challenge them for power. But what would they like? Hydra in the modern era had distanced themselves from like the concepts of the Nazis, like the whole ethnic cleansing, like that was never what Hydra stood for. So my question is, like, what does a world under Hydra look like? Obviously it's going to be very totalitarian control, but what exactly does day-to-day life look like under an unchallenged Hydra?
Very clean. I mean, that city looked very shiny.
I like that she was in the elevator that Cap got in a fight with.
Specifically, the elevator he got in a fight with or in.
He fought that elevator.
A little bit of both.
That elevator up. We saw that.
He jumps through the window.
We actually have a question asking for clarification from Asakine.
Sure.
And she brings up a good point. Hi, friend of the show. We love you.
Yeah.
Gemma and Daisy went in through the back door. Why did they have a storyline in the framework? And I think it's because their storylines were kind of already set up by Radcliffe and Ada, and them plugging in, it just automatically put them where their avatars were.
Yeah, I believe that Daisy says something about that, where like they will immediately jump into wherever they are presently in the story of the framework.
Yeah, they sort of just take it over.
Yeah.
So the chat.
Hope that clears that up.
The chat is trolling me right now. They're like, Ward's gonna be Taskmaster in the framework just to mess with Zach. Like, I'd finally get it, and it's a character I was just not high on having back.
You get it, and you get it in a character in a not real world with a character that's dead in the real world.
What if it's a world of Taskmasters? Everyone's Taskmaster.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Daniel Drew, who watching live. I don't think he gets to watch live very often, so thank you.
Yeah, thank
you, Daniel. All right, guys, it's time to talk about some. Do you guys have any other final thoughts on this episode before we get into news and gossip?
Do that news and gossip.
Because we got some news and gossip.
Just real quick, Yo-Yo is going to be with May's squad. We saw protecting the bodies of both Gemma and Daisy. Like, so it's going to be. It looks like the next season is going to be like the LMDs hunting Gemma and Daisy's physical bodies, while Yo-Yo and the Maydays or the Mayhems or the
did
Maydays
the chat
them.
ever come to a consensus?
No, I mean, I think it was up to us to pick one, and we
All
did
right,
not.
let's go with Mayhems for right now.
So the news this week, Joss Whedon made a bunch of comments about, like, because the third arc and the fact that it's going to be off for a few weeks.
The next episode is called What If, and that comes on to April 4th, and that's the start of the final pod.
Super unsubtle nod.
For comic book fans.
Yeah. But so basically he said, like, this is why we're sort of nervous about this being the last season, is that he talked about this last arc is going to tie up a lot of loose ends in the S.H.I.E.L.D. world. He specifically made reference to season 1 and Dr. Hall, and who is Graviton and fell into Gravitonium in season 1, never to be heard from again. One of the biggest villains, one of the most powerful villains.
Specifically, that is something they may get the chance to pay off, and
they will. They said that they're going to.
Absolutely will.
But that, like, so basically, they're going to answer all of our questions, which super.
I don't know if they'll answer all of them.
No, but they said a lot of the loose ends, and that very much implies that this
is a wrap up.
Like, look, as people who see the flow, like the flows of television, like they didn't. This wasn't an announced break.
No.
So I think that they basically were like, look, we're not going to renew S.H.I.E.L.D. The crew said, okay, I guess that's the end of it. Can we have extra? Hoping we'll get like stuff like Deathlock back to like
and
at
Robbie
least say,
Reyes
hey.
drives in on his motorcycle.
Actually,
from the
keep
sunset.
Robbie Reyes where he is, because right now he's like on ice in a way that you could literally bring him back at any time.
For his own show.
Yeah, for his own show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be really
love
upset
the
if
Ghost
Robbie
Rider show.
Reyes rides in for his own show and Ward is hugging him?
He literally drives out of hell.
From hell.
He drives out of hell with Ward.
So they're in a car, and
He's just hugging
Ward's
him from
behind the driver's seat, hugging Robbie
Sure,
Reyes.
I forgot about the car for
I
a
would
second,
not-
but you know
I
what
would
I mean.
not
With
be
a
upset
Whitney
with that.
Houston song play.
And like then as he drives
that-
away, we just see one little tentacle.
I'd be okay with that awkward
be-
backseat hug from Ward. That's an interesting place to take that character.
Okay. I just want to know what is, and now we see the line we need to cross.
That's the line. I want an awkward backseat hug.
People are asking, like, how are they going to tie up loose ends if it's all in the framework? I think we're just going to get 1 or 2 in the framework, and
Yeah,
they're going to get out.
I don't
and show.
picture an entire pod in the framework.
I think you can tie up emotional ends where the real people kind of get to, like, say goodbye to people. Like, you could do Daisy actually getting to say goodbye to Ward, and like in a real way, instead of saying goodbye to the swarm of fungus squid.
Or
or
closing that chapter of her life. I don't think she needs to say goodbye to him.
well, just like some sort of like closure for that. Like, I think you could get a lot of closure, like for emotional payoffs, and then they can come out. Like, you could get May with her husband. Like, he might be there.
We
Like,
can bring Andrew back.
Yeah.
Because in this world, like Bahrain, she fixed it.
yeah.
It was
Which
fine.
that's like, if Bahrain didn't happen, then she would still be with.
She would still
Andrew.
be Andrew.
That's part of that
with
regret.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll get
Who
Blair
knows?
Underwood
Maybe
back.
the whole incident. Clearly, the incident with Inhumans happened. So he might not have even had his Inhuman turn if he wasn't.
Exactly.
If Coulson wasn't there to bring him in to work with S.H.I.E.L.D.
All the stuff that, like, basically just everything that's happened on S.H.I.E.L.D.
Now we
didn't
need
happen.
to figure something out with Nadir.
Yeah, her
The
brother's
brother.
still hanging out.
Like, I
on the
refuse
bottom
to
of the
believe
ocean.
they did all that for nothing to happen with him.
I mean, they could.
Maybe he's what's ultimately going to defeat Graviton.
Or he could come in and, like, if Daisy, who's like the de facto right now leader of the Inhumans, or at least the most famous Inhuman, like, and Yo-Yo now has the database that Daisy was putting together of all of the Inhumans, they could bring him in to help protect her body while she's in the database.
He fights Robo Superior.
Sure.
He fights Robo Superior.
I mean,
I'm
that
calling
could
it right
be a
now.
real thing.
Yeah.
That's a good call. That's
Yeah.
I wanted to go with it. As Taskmaster.
Speaking of Inhumans, there was some more casting for the Inhumans
Yes.
today. The only one that's official so far,
Maximus the Mad.
Ewan Roan, the guy who
Ian Roan.
Ian Roan.
Yeah.
All right, sure. The guy who played Ramsay Bolton
Yes, and
in
also
Game of Thrones is going to play Black Bolt's dickish brother.
Maximus.
Good casting. Good casting.
Yeah.
He's younger than I would have liked, but he was fantastic
But
in
it
Game
works,
of Thrones, so
yeah.
he'll kill it.
So, guys, I feel like this is a good point to kind of slide it on over into official predictions.
Yeah.
Your AfterBuzz TV
So,
prediction.
yeah, the next episode is called What If? Do we all get everybody out of the framework by the end of the episode?
The first one,
I don't
Yes.
know.
I give him at least
2 episodes. It has to
maybe
be.
a third.
I think Daisy finds Radcliffe in the framework, and she helps, or he helps her hack it, and then she gets Neo powers in the framework.
Yes! Oh my gosh!
Because
Oh, yeah, she might not have her Quake abilities.
No.
She might not have ever turned into an Inhuman.
That's a good point. I guess there's the interesting question of like what are the rules of the framework?
don't
Just like
know.
what are the rules of the Matrix? Like is it possible to become Neo within there?
we do know that if you die in the framework, you die
Die
in
in
real
real
You
life.
die for real. You die in the
Which-
game, you die for real.
Which seems like a real oversight by Radcliffe, and
It's sort of silly.
yeah, like if the whole point is like to go to a world where you're
Where
safe,
you can't die,
then why would you do that?
why would you allow death to be a thing?
Yeah. There's an American Dad episode where they go to heaven and he uses a human gun and they're like, those have no powers here in heaven. And he's like, and he grabs a heaven gun and a guy's just like, why do we have those again? Why do those exist?
Tehran, any immediate predictions?
Immediate predictions. Not predictions that we haven't already discussed.
Yeah, we've spent a
We've
good...
kind of went over a lot of good things. I
We've
do want to know what
brainstormed
happens
a few things, yeah.
with Sky being shot so many times, which is why I was like, I'm
Yeah.
waiting for her rap album because she really got shot like 9 times, and she's still walking around like it's fine. I think that plays a part more than what we're alluding to.
Oh, like it puts a time frame on it?
Exactly, it puts
yeah.
a time frame on. She's bleeding out. We need to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think that just about does it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to watch. Zach, where can people go if they want to find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, all the places at @ZachWilson. Also, be sure to check out the show that Jesse and I do together on Sundays, Sci-Fi Weekly. This Sunday, we're going to be talking about the greatest and worst product placements in sci-fi history.
It's so good.
And then next week, which everyone here will be excited about, we're going to be talking about Logan. Sundays at 4 Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, this week, product placement. Next week, Logan.
So good. Tehran!
I'm gonna definitely check out that show at I Am Tehran all across social atmosphere. That's Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, all over the place at I Am Tehran. And Mondays and Thursday nights every week, 10 p.m. Laugh Factory, and my radio show Imperfect Gentleman on XM and Dash.
Hi everyone, you can find me at JessKlein1, that's JessKlein, the number 1. You can also find me at Sci-Fi Weekly. Last week we did the Cure for Wellness review. It's very interesting, go check it out. And also you can find videos that I write and perform in at haymakercomedy.com. We are releasing a video tomorrow about Republican cucks, so check it out.
I've seen that video. It's amazing.
Yep.
I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz, and I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Folks, thank you so much for watching. We will see you all on April 4th.
Can't wait.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.